Hi, my name is Anand Vaswani and my ID is 1351326. So I'm gonna talk about Mexico for next 12 or 13 minutes. So the economy of Mexico is the 16th largest in the world in nominal terms and the 11th largest by the purchasing power parity according to IMF. Since the 1994 crisis, administrations have improved the country's macroeconomics fundamentals. Mexico was not significantly influenced by 2002 American crisis and maintained positive, although low rates of growth after a brief period of stagnation in 2001. However, Mexico was one of the Latin American nations most affected by the 2008 recession, with its gross GDP contracting by more than 6% in that year. The economy contains rapidly developing modern industrial and service sectors with increasing private ownership. Recent administrations have expanded competition in ports, railroads, telecommunications, electricity generation, natural gas distribution, and airports with the aim of upgrading infrastructure. As an export oriented economy, more than 90% of Mexican trade is under free trade agreements with more than 40 countries, including the European Union, Japan, Israel, and much of Central and South America. The most influential FTA is the North American Free Trade Agreement, which into effect in 1994 and was signed in 1992 by the government of US, Canada, and Mexico. In 2006, trade with Mexico's two northern partners accounted for almost 90% of its export and 55% of its imports. Recently, the Congress of the Union approved important tax, pension, and judicial reforms, and reform the oil industry is currently being debated. Mexico had 15 companies in the Forbes Global 2000 list of world's largest companies in 2016. Mexico's labor force is 52.8 million as of 2015. The OECD and WTO both rank Mexican workers as the hardest working in the world in terms of amount of hours worked yearly, although profitably per man hour remains low. So I'm going to talk about industry right now. The industrial sector as a whole has benefited from trade liberalization in 2000. In 2000, it accounted for almost 50% of all export earnings. Among the most important industrial manufacturers in Mexico is the automotive industry, whose standard of quality are internationally recognized. The automobile sector in Mexico differs from that in other Latin American countries and developing nations in that it does not function as mere assembly manufacturer. The industry produces technological complex components and engages in some research and development activities. An example of that is new Volkswagen Jetta model with up to 70% of parts designed in Mexico. The big three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, have been operating in Mexico since 1930s, while Volkswagen and Nissan built their plants in 1960s. Later, Toyota, Honda, BMW, Mercedes-Benz joined in. Given the high requirements of North American components in the industry, many European and Asian parts suppliers have also moved to Mexico. In Puebla alone, 70 industrial part makers cluster around Volkswagen. So I'm going to talk about currency policy. Mexico has floating exchange rate regime. The floating exchange originated with reforms in sorry. The floating exchange originated with reforms with initiated after the December 1994 peso crash, which had followed an unsustainable adherence to a short ban. Under the new system, Banco de Mexico now makes no commitment to the level of peso exchange rate. Although it doesn't employ an automatic merchandise to accumulate foreign reserves, it also possesses tools aimed at smoothing our volatility. The Exchange Rate Commission's set policy. It is made up of six members, three each from Ministry of Finance and Public Credit, and Central Bank with SHCP holding the deciding vote. In August 1996, Banco de Mexico initiated a mechanism to acquire foreign reserves when the peso is strong without giving the market signs about the target range for the exchange rate. The resulting high levels of reserve, mostly from petroleum revenues, have helped to improve the terms and conditions on debt Mexico places on foreign markets. However, there is a concern that the government relies too heavily on oil income in order to build a healthy base of reserves. According to the central bank, international reserves stood at US $75.8 billion in 2007. In May 2003, Banco de Mexico launched a program that sells US dollars via a monthly auction with the goal of maintaining a stable but moderate level of reserves. From April 1, 1998, although the peso traded around range varying from 8.46 uh, Mexican dollars per US 1.00 US to April 20. I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong, so I'll just sorry for that. After the onset of US credit crisis that accelerated into October 2007, the peso had an exchange rate during October 1, 2008 through April 1, 2009, fluctuating from lowest to highest between 10.96 Mexican dollars per 1 US dollar on October 1, 2008 to 15.42 Mexican dollars per 1 US dollar. On March 9, 2009, a peak depreciation of 28.92% during those 6 months between the two reference date extremes before recovery. So I'm going to talk about the monetary system right now. Mexico's monetary policy was revealed following 1994 to 1995 financial crisis when officials decided that maintaining general price stability was the best way to contribute to sustained growth of employment and economic activity. As a result, Banco de Mexico has its primary objective maintaining sustainability in purchasing power of the peso. It sets an inflation target which requires it to establish corresponding quantitative targets for the growth of the monetary base and the expansion of net domestic credit. The central bank also monitors the evolution of several economic indicators such as exchange rate, differences between observed and projected inflation, the results of surveys on the public and specialist inflation expectations, revisions on collective employment contracts, producer prices, and balances of the current and capital accounts. The debate continues over whether Mexico should switch to US style interest rate targeting system. Government officials in favor of the change say that the new system would give them the more control over the interest rates, which are becoming more important as the consumer credit levels rise. Until 2008, Mexico used a unique system among the OECD countries to control inflation in a mechanism known as CORTO, like shortage, a mechanism that allowed to central bank to influence market interest rates by leaving the bank system short of its daily demand for money by the predetermined amount. If the central bank wanted to push interest rates higher, it's increased the quota. If it wished to lower the interest rate, it decreased the quota. Source Banxico. In April 2004, the central bank began setting a referential overnight interest rate as its monetary policy. So that's all my content. So I hope I have made a good one. So please mark me accordingly. Thank you.